The Democratic Alliance, DA, has had mixed success since joining South Africa's Government of National Unity, GNU. On the positive side, the DA has gained significant influence in national governance, securing key ministerial positions and pushing for policies aligned with its vision, such as economic reforms and better service delivery. However, tensions within the coalition, particularly with the ANC, have raised concerns about whether the DA's participation is yielding meaningful change or merely propping up a government that resists reform. While staying in the GNU offers an opportunity to shape policy and prevent ANC dominance, continued compromises could weaken the DA's identity and frustrate its supporters. Ultimately, the decision to remain or leave depends on whether the DA can achieve tangible results without sacrificing its principles.
The Democratic Alliance. Well, the Democratic Alliance came into the Government of National Unity with 21% compared to the ANC's 40%, and they were treated like doormats. Everything that they knew that they had sold to their supporters for reasons that they were joining the GNU was turned into mud because the ANC did whatever they wanted to do anyway, with no regard to the DA. Suddenly, the budget action was a godsend. And oddly enough, their win is made more visible because all of the other GNU parties who had equal objections to the Bella Act and to the Expropriation Act and to all of these other things were happy when everybody was looking at the DA and saying, why didn't you stand up to them? Well, suddenly, all the parties stand up to the ANC, but because everybody has been blaming the DA for not standing up to the ANC, it's the DA that's getting all the credit.
The DA's federal chairperson, Helen Zille, maintains the Government of National Unity has provided a fig leaf for President Cyril Ramaphosa to hide the real governance structure, which is a coalition government between the ANC and DA. Just as expected, Helen Zille's statements have ruffled some feathers, but also seen some praising her for stating what they believe was the obvious on the GNU. What are your views on her statement that the president knew a co-governing arrangement with the DA would only be palatable if it was presented as a government of national unity, when in actual fact, according to her, they're in a coalition?
So this is a coalition government. It contains various parties. Zille seems to think that it is mainly between the Democratic Alliance and the ANC. And we've seen the ANC's response to that way back when the letters got leaked before the announcement of the Government of National Unity, when Mr. Ramaphosa indicated.
But on Helen Zille, some say she's actually quite a smart politician. People mustn't assume that things just slip out of her tongue. She is intentional, and what we're seeing is her reminding the core voter base that they haven't lost their identity, they will not be cannibalized by the ANC, and that the goal or plan to topple the ANC is still on course. Would you say it was deliberate, that in that dialogue she said exactly what she wanted to say because she needs or feels they must constantly remind their electorate or their voter base that they have not now switched and are more sympathetic towards the ANC?
So that is certainly the case. That Ms. Zille's remarks are not accidental slips of the tongue. She does not fire off, easily. And in that sense, Mr. Mbalula is much more of a loose cannon.
Let's be frank, the Democratic Alliance did not enter the Government of National Unity to simply copy-paste and roll out the National Democratic Revolution. We did not enter into government to roll out ANC policies, particularly because we have evidence that in the last 30 years they have failed South Africans instead of working for them. That is why, as the Democratic Alliance, we're making a plea to the President of the nation to also come to terms with the fact that he's not alone in government. He cannot make decisions alone on legislation that governs the daily lives of South Africans, particularly legislation that is unconstitutional, that does not meet procedural master, and certainly does not serve the best interests of all South Africans. So we, as the Democratic Alliance, are going to explore all avenues possible within the courts to test the constitutionality of this act and make sure that South Africans get what they deserve.
ANC and DA are finally clashing.
The ANC says your approach to this is tantamount to blackmail, because all of these other positions you are trying to renegotiate have nothing to do with the budget.
The ANC clearly doesn't understand how economics 101 work. The ANC has imposed its failed ideology and policies in South Africa, at least for the last 15 years. It's led to unemployment that's now above 30%, and young people not being able to find work, and in some cases children starving to death.
How long will this government of national unity last? This is not the first instance we've seen already where the DA has pressured the ANC. If this continues, everything could unravel before the end of the year.
Being in government, if you can't govern, there's no point in bringing 3.5 million votes to a table and you can't influence the policy and direction of that government or the programs of that government. And that is what I was trying to say very, very clearly, that we regard the GNU as South Africa's most precious asset at the moment in terms of what it holds in its hands, the future of the country, the future of the economy, the future of our people. And that is why all parties to the GNU need to be good stewards and good responsible stewards of the GNU. But being a responsible steward means that you have to be a reliable coalition partner and a trustworthy coalition partner as well. So when you make decisions and you don't consult the rest of your party, the parties in the coalition, without even giving a courtesy call to the leaders, knowing how contentious the expropriation bill has been, knowing the fact that you received a 2-page submission from the Minister of Public Works with a legal opinion from senior counsel attached, pointing out the constitutional problems with the bill, and you simply go ahead and do it, and the leaders of your coalition find out about it on social media, that is not being a good steward or a good partner of the GNU. And that is our gripe. Now, I believe that we could quite easily have found a way through this particular impasse had there been a discussion amongst leaders. There's a number of options. There was nothing instructing the President to sign this bill. There was no urgency on it. We could have had a discussion about it. We could have decided to refer it back to Parliament. We could have amended it there using the GNU's majority in Parliament to come up with a bill that met all of these requirements. Or the President could have simply called us in and given us his reasons why he was going to proceed. Instead, all brushed aside. I found out on social media on my way back from Davos that this bill had been signed. And my party is rightly asking questions of me, saying, but was this discussed in the GNU?
So what option is available, though? So if they do go ahead and push through these policies, because I'm asking this because the ANC has now dared you as the DA to leave the GNU if you want, or stop undermining the party and try weakening it from within. That's what Fikile Mbalula said recently at a press briefing. Is there an option here to pull out of the GNU?
Well, that is the nuclear option, and it certainly is an option, but you can only use it once. So obviously we'd want to try and resolve the problems, because if we go out of the GNU, you'll have either a minority government, which will be totally unstable, or you will have an ANC-EFF-MK coalition, which is what Paul Mashatile wants, which will destroy South Africa's economy within a week. The amount of disinvestment, the amount of international revision of the approach to South Africa, we'd be kicked out of AGOA as well. I mean, we must understand what the stakes are here.
Do you think we'll be kicked out of AGOA if the GNU doesn't survive?
I think we could be kicked out of AGOA anyway. President Trump's not playing. I mean, I've just been to the United States and I spoke at a seminar there.
If the DA want to leave the GNU, is their call. They can leave tonight, they can leave tomorrow. Anytime they want to leave or they wish to leave, they can go.